We are now halfway through the 2025 NFL season at week 9 here. Of course, we have 9 more to go. And then playoffs, it's crazy that's coasting by. I mean, for college, there's only a handful of games left before those playoffs start. So it's crazy how deep we are into everything. But yeah, another pretty good week. Nothing too crazy happened, though. I would say probably one of the more tame weeks that you could have as far as the NFL goes.
Yeah, definitely a bit tame, but a couple upsets here and there that we didn't necessarily predict. Most noteworthy, I think, was the Cleveland one. You had a nice pick in calling Cleveland +9, but
I
for
was
them to
feeling
win,
something smelly, dude. Jameis Winston
yeah,
starting, Deshaun Watson gone,
yeah, but
divisional rivalry.
for them to win straight up though is
Yeah,
still pretty wild there with
I
the way
know.
the whole team has been playing. It's like Deshaun was just the problem for the whole team because clearly they've
Yeah.
got what it takes to beat, a top tier team like Baltimore.
Yeah, I know. Jameis absolutely went off. There were a couple moments there where I think Kyle Hamilton dropped an interception that would have ended the
Hmm.
game, but still, though, crazy outcome. And just happy
Yeah.
to see things kind of stay like very level, even playing field, lots of parity. Anyone can still beat anyone.
Hmm.
And the Bengals needed that. Although I'm kind of sold on the Bengals, they're really scaring me. But we'll get
Yeah.
into that here. Just to gloss over our week 8 recap. We both went 10-6. I think this is the second week where we ended up with the same record. So now we have the
Yeah.
same overall record, 75-48 again.
And even our two people who write in, Jimmy and my dad, also went 10-6. So it's just
Wow.
yeah, very equal all across the board this past week.
That was the cap.
Yeah.
That was the absolute max anyone could get.
Yeah, I know.
All right. It's also weird there were no buys last week. That was a full slate of games. That's crazy.
Yeah, they just like weirdly sprinkle in one single week
Yeah.
without any buys, and then we're back to two buys this week.
As for my best bets, I think I went 12-8. So not a horrible week. I was better on the NFL side of things than the
Mhm.
college side of things, but I definitely, yeah, I felt good about some of those NFL ones. The over in the Pittsburgh games have just been
Mhm.
so free. They have been undervaluing Pittsburgh's offense, and I feel like overvaluing their defense. And so I feel like the over unders in the Pittsburgh games have always
Mhm.
just been a little on the low side. So there's some opportunities to be had there.
Yeah, definitely some opportunities, but even still, like Russell didn't play like all that great. He only had one touchdown. He had a good amount of yardage, but like
Hmm.
still only one tud in the game.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's just been, tossing up four tuds, but even still the overs are still hitting, which is
Yeah.
certainly good for your best bets. And yeah, your record is showing it, dude. You're up to 91-81 on the season and
Yeah, I
four
was a little
refunds.
worried though. I mean, I looked at the bet tracker you had going, and before
Hmm.
you put the NFL ones in, I had, a good winning percentage, but I had a negative ROI. Let's see. Do I still have a negative ROI?
No, it's positive.
Oh, oh, I'm up 2 units now. Good. Good, good,
Yeah,
good.
yeah. Almost two
Thank
and a half
gosh.
units. Yeah.
Nice. We gotta keep
It's
that going. But I like the
for sure.
91 and 81.
Yeah, that makes it look a lot more just a lot better
Yeah.
because it's got 10 extra wins there. But I guess just the -110 odds sprinkle down the
Yeah.
like the ROI, which kind of blows. Like only a 1.3% ROI on 91 and 81 kind of like it just
I know.
feels
I
like
need
it
to
should be
start
better.
tossing some more underdogs in there, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, you're mostly on the -110 grind, but you do
Yeah.
have a couple. You have your +100 Kansas City money line bet from like 2 weeks ago, which was solid.
Yeah. You went pretty good. 3-5 or yeah, 3 of 5. So 3-2.
Yeah, yeah, better than I have in previous weeks. Of course, last week I did go 4-0, but this week 3-2. Minnesota did not look like their
That was
usual selves,
surprising.
or I guess the Rams were just really the
Dude.
ones that didn't
Since
look
when
like
was
their usual
Puka
self.
going to play, dude? I had absolutely no idea.
Me neither.
Zero
Like,
clue.
yeah, I thought Cup was coming back this week and Puka was going to be like the weaker
Yeah,
2 weeks after. I wasn't
I agree.
expecting both,
That's
but
absurd, man. They were so
yeah,
sneaky about it. I just had them
I
cooking on
know.
my IR spot.
Yeah, they were a bit sly there, but yeah, I don't know that I even would have picked the Rams, even if both of those, like
Yeah,
I knew both of them were back, but they looked like an entirely different
I
team
know,
out
dude.
there
They
with their
looked lethal.
weapons
I
back.
mean, and Stafford was absolutely surgical as he kind of has been when he's had all of the
Hmm.
weapons at his
Yeah.
disposal. So, maybe, this could be the Rams team that we get going forward. And I hope so, because I really invested in them to do big things in the preseason.
Yeah, I mean, we both kind of did, but they've got a chance because the division is like
Yeah.
all 4-4 and they're 3-4. So I guess they're really not even like
Yeah.
too far behind because all the
They're
other
right
teams are
there,
four
dude.
losses. But yeah, I mean they still gotta try and get some extra wins here to take over the division. It's crazy that officially the Cardinals are in the number one spot in that division, which is pretty wild to me.
Yeah, I know. To see like the Cardinals, Falcons, Commanders, and Lions leading their
Yeah, yeah,
divisions is absolutely ludicrous, just from a perspective of a couple years ago when
yeah.
it was Cowboys slash Eagles,
Hmm.
Saints slash Bucks, Packers, and the Niners or the Rams. It's just completely flipped on its head.
I know, 100%, bro. And even the Broncos in second place in their division. I mean, that was unheard of
Yeah.
last year.
No, I know. I mean, they have had a really easy schedule, I would say, but they are
Hmm.
still playing pretty good. I mean, they've had some cupcake games.
Yeah,
Panthers, Saints all beat up. They've had some cupcakes.
yeah, for sure.
But getting into our week 9 picks here with Thursday night football, Houston at the Jets. For whatever reason, the Jets are favored by like 2 points. And when something head scratching like that occurs, now I know Stephon Diggs is out, but Stephon Diggs isn't worth like a couple points like that. I have to go with the Jets. The Vegas, I mean, they're telling you something here by setting them as a favorite. They are telling you something. And I was kind of inclined to pick them anyways. I've been a horrible picking the Jets this year just because I thought they would be so much better than they actually
Hmm.
ended up being. But I feel like pressed up against the wall, they're bound for a win here, while Houston definitely has some wiggle room.
Yeah, I would love if you could maybe shed some light on if you know why they're favored by two. Like, do you really think it's just because Diggs is out, Nico Collins? Like, w- is
I
it
don't
just
know,
because of the
man.
injuries?
Like those two guys are not, they're worth like a half a point, maybe. They're worth like 0.75 points on
I mean,
average.
they still have Tank Dell. Like
Yeah,
they've still
Dalton
got
Schultz.
talent on that offense. So like
And
I
the
don't
Jets
know.
have been so bad, bro. The Jets just lost to the Patriots, who the
Yeah,
Texans blew out already without Nico Collins. So
right.
it's a head scratcher for sure. But this is one of those where, okay, if Vegas is saying that they're a favorite
Hmm.
after everything that we've seen, I have to roll with them. I mean, the public is going to be all over Houston, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah, it's 86% public bet on Houston to cover the spread. But yeah, that's honestly great logic there. I mean, I can't even say much to defend that, other than just the fact that I think Houston is the much better team. And
I mean,
like
I would agree.
if we didn't see that the Jets were favored by two here, if Houston was favored
Yeah.
by four, like I feel like we'd be picking Houston.
Yeah, I feel like
Like,
the line should be like Houston minus 2.5.
yeah, something like that. So, I mean, I'm still gonna go with Houston here, but like the Jets pick is definitely like just
Hmm.
strange that they're favored by
I
two
know.
like that. So we'll see
Something
how it all plays
smells
out.
fishy.
It does indeed. Yeah, it could be a very surgical pick by you.
New Orleans at Carolina, a game that I certainly will not be watching, but I'm going to take New Orleans. They're a 7 point favorite, which is another little bit of a head scratcher. Both teams ugly, kind of switching up quarterbacks.
Mhm.
Carolina's at home, I guess. So that's why I was like, why are they 7 point underdogs? Another reason why I kind of felt like New Orleans was the pick. So I'm going to rip with them, but would not be surprised if Carolina gets this one just because of how banged up the Saints are.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of my motivation here is going to be going with Carolina. They're at home. They're due for a win, and um, yeah, I mean I don't have a lot of confidence in New Orleans after all of these injuries. They'd be scaring me out there, and I don't know. It feels like it's time for Carolina to finally get one of these wins. They're kind of due after a rough going lately.
Yeah, no, I was kind of thinking that same exact thing just because I don't see
Yeah.
them only winning like 1 or 2 games. I feel like they could
Hmm.
win three this year. I know they only did two last year, but
Yeah.
yeah, we'll see. Washington at the Giants. I gotta roll with the Giants here. I think the Washington Commander, I mean, they are on their high horse. I do not envision them as a 7-2 team. I just don't. The Giants almost beat them. They would have beaten them if they had a kicker who could kick the last time. And I mean, the Commanders, they kicked like 6 field goals against the Giants when they were at home rather to beat the Giants. Now they're on the road here, coming off a highly emotional victory, a highly improbable victory against the Bears, in which they only scored 4 field goals within basically 60 minutes. And then,
Right.
honestly, like 4 seconds after the game ended, then you throw the Hail Mary. I mean, it was just, don't even want to talk about that as a Bears fan, but I'm just going to roll with the Giants here.
So this one concerns me a little bit, bro, because I feel like you tend to pick the Giants with a little bit of bias. You tend to pick them frequently against teams that seem to be stronger than the Giants, and then you end up regretting it later on because
I've
other
stopped doing that though, dude. Like I didn't pick them against the Seahawks and they beat the Seahawks. I did pick them against the
against
Eagles.
the
I will give you
Eagles.
that. I know, I
Yeah.
know. But like,
You picked them against the Cowboys, I think, as well, right?
I don't think so.
No?
Wait, they haven't they even played the Cowboys yet?
I thought they did. Wasn't it like week one? Maybe I don't know
Uh,
maybe that was last year.
that was last year, I think. They definitely played week 1 last year. I'm not so sure about this year. I don't
Yeah,
think they've played yet.
they played September 26th and Cowboys won 20 to 15.
Oh, well, that's at least a close one.
Yeah. It is a close one. I can't remember if you picked them or not, but either way, well anyways, I'm going to be taking the Commanders here. I know they came off the emotional victory. I just think they're a lot better team, bro. I mean, they've been cooking. I just think you got to ride them while they're on their high horse, while they're ride the hot hand. I think that's the play for me. I don't have a lot of confidence in the Giants.
Yeah, I mean, clearly it's been the right pick to pick against and fade the Giants, but eventually they're bound to get one here.
No, you're
And
right.
it's a
If you could
divisional rivalry game.
if you could snipe this one again, bro, like this would be just a crazy snipe
Yeah.
out of you.
I mean, I didn't have the balls to take the Browns last week, so I'm going
That's
to
true. That's true.
muster the courage up and do it this week. All right,
Yeah.
Miami at Buffalo. I don't have the courage to take the Dolphins in this division rivalry. I don't know. I mean, in Buffalo now, I know they're healthier, but I just don't see them going into Buffalo and getting a win. I mean, they just lost to the Cardinals at home. I know Tua was coming off the injury, but he looked pretty solid. I don't think he's necessarily the reason they lost. Just think that they're pretty much an average team, and the Bills are just absolutely juggernauts against teams with below 500 records, and that is the category that the Dolphins fall into.
Yeah, I mean, I can agree with that. I'll be taking the Bills this week for sure. Dolphins, I think they looked pretty shaky coming back against having Tua come back in and facing the Cardinals. Really thought that was a pretty good scenario for Tua to come back to. Like it's not like he had to come back and face like the Ravens or the Chiefs. Like he got to come back and face the Cardinals. Felt like a very winnable
Yeah,
game to me.
I agree.
And he still ended up, I guess I mean like it wasn't his fault, but still like the Dolphins couldn't even hold on to a victory there. That's just quite concerning. So it's got to be the Bills here and I feel like in the past several years Bills always seem to take care of business when facing the Dolphins.
Yeah, the last time they lost one to the Dolphins was a couple years ago at this point,
Yeah.
and it was early in the season in Miami, I think. So yeah, just
hmm
not a good spot for them. You have Chargers at Cleveland, kind of another gross, ugly game. I am going to rock with the Chargers here, despite Cleveland's emphatic win at home against the Ravens. Can they keep it up? Can Jameis Winston go off again and prove that he deserves to be a starter? Can he Joe Flacco this situation just like last year? But no, I don't think so, at least not in this game. I think the Chargers defense is able to shut him down a little bit. And Justin Herbert just continuing to cook, be sneaky back there. Everyone's kind of overshadowing him. He doesn't have crazy receivers, but that Lad McConkey looks really good. I think they're able to get past the Browns here.
Yeah, that's honestly probably the good pick. I'm actually gonna get a little bit wild and take the Browns here. Just feel like this could be almost like a Josh Dobbs situation where Josh Dobbs comes in, gets a huge win, and then he wins like the next week before finally they regress back to the
Yeah,
average and they just kind of crumble again. So I don't
right.
think that Jameis Winston will pull the full Joe Flacco and just carry them to the playoffs and just get a whole bunch of wins. Feel like they're due for a win here again this week, and then it'll start to kind of fall apart. Jameis is not going to live up to standards for that many weeks in a row.
Yeah, I could see him having another good game and then probably having his like
Yeah.
multi-interception game that we're kind of used to him having from
Hmm.
the Saints or the Bucs back in the day. New England at Tennessee, probably the worst game on the slate. I guess I'm gonna take the Patriots because they look decent against the Jets. However, Drake May has a concussion, so he's out
Hmm.
for this game. Jacoby is back, but Tennessee, rocking with a little mixture concoction of Mason Rudolph and Will Levis, which is basically poisonous. I mean, that's just a nod. Yeah, you don't want to drink
Poisonous.
that. Stay away from that. Stay away from that concoction. So I'm gonna take the Patriots. Don't feel good about it, but I won't watch this
Yeah.
game.
No, I mean, I don't know who's going to be tuning into this game, but yeah, it was just a pretty wild game last week. Just with how quick the scoring happened. It was like 21-14, like 2 minutes into the second quarter against the
Yeah.
Lions last week. So Tennessee, like they had a little bit of excitement going on for them, but it was not sustainable. They didn't score again for the entire rest of the game last week. Not sure what happened there. They just kind of lost the motivation with Detroit's electric offense. But yeah, I'm going to be taking New England here this week. I think that they're certainly a little bit better, a little bit more consistent than Tennessee, which can't seem to keep their head in the game for a full 60 minutes. But like you said, not quite as confident about this one.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's saying Tennessee has a good defense. Their defense is supposed to be the anchor of their team, but their defense
Mhm.
looked absolutely horrendous last week. So
Yeah, I
I
think
just don't believe in the team at all.
yeah, I mean, they let up a whopping 52, which is wild. I think I might have said like last week, do you remember when I was talking about like the 70 to like 14 game or like 70 to
Yeah.
20? Did I
Yeah.
say that was the Lions? Like I
I know
thought that
we ended up determining that was the Denver Miami game last year.
no, I know, but I thought like I had mentioned that like I thought the Lions might put up 70 on the Titans.
You might have, dude. I mean, that
I might have
would
to go
be
back
a
and listen to
wild
it.
prediction.
I think I might have said that game specifically. I might have to go back and check on that because there was
Dude, you
one
gotta
game
be
where I was
careful,
talking
dude.
about
The FBI's gonna be knocking on your door if you open up
it.
that can of worms.
That's true. That's true.
Some of these predictions can be too surgical.
Yeah, very cerebral, but very
Yeah.
accurate.
All right, next up, we have Dallas at Atlanta. I'm gonna rock with the Falcons here, but I've not been great picking them. Like they're very up and down, kind of like the Cardinals, kind of like what's the other team that's very up and down? Denver. Yeah, I feel like Denver, Cardinals,
Hmm.
and the Falcons up and down. Like they lost to the Seahawks, then come out and beat the Bucs on the road, sweeping the Buccaneers, which is a huge, huge step in the division. I mean, the Bucs were their toughest challenge. I bet the Falcons are favored heavily now to win the
Yep.
NFC South after sweeping the Bucs there. Yeah, so absolutely monumental. I'm gonna take them to beat the Cowboys here, but I mean, I could totally see the Cowboys pulling this one off just because I don't think they looked that bad against the 49ers, and the Falcons are a little bipolar.
Yeah, I mean, Cowboys did get some points scored against the Niners, but most of that didn't really come until the fourth quarter. I think CD had two tuds in the fourth. So I felt like for most of that game, 49ers kind of had control there. Dallas is not really the team that they used to be even just last year. And so I feel more confident picking a team that's been kind of hot, just at least a little bit more hot in Atlanta than Dallas. So I'm going to be rolling with them. But also, I just wish that I rather had been tracking the way that we've picked teams throughout this entire season, like what your record is
Yeah.
picking Atlanta, rather than doing it at the end, because that might
Yeah, no,
help
I
us
know.
in determining who we're picking in some of these games.
Well, trust me, I know I'm bad against the or for the Commanders. I'm bad for the Jets.
Yes.
Both of those teams I've really struggled with. The Rams a little bit as well, even though I was good with the Rams last year. But
Yeah,
pretty
and
sure
you
I
were
predicted
flawless with the
all of
Rams.
the Panthers games properly. So there we
That's
have that.
nice. That's true. Yeah.
All right, Vegas at Cincinnati. Another team I'm not great picking because the Bengals
Hmm.
continue to let me down. But yeah, I guess I'm gonna take them again here. I have really no reason to believe in the Raiders. They did cover last week against the Chiefs, which I liked, but going on the road to the Bengals, a team that most definitely needs to win. I know we say this every week. Hey, they need a win here. They need a
Yeah.
win here. They really need a win here. So I guess Bengals, even though they've heavily disappointed me this year.
Yeah, I mean, they're certainly not out of it. They're 2 games behind Baltimore and 3 behind the Steelers. So it's certainly still in the cards for them to pull off a playoff picture, although it does
It's
seem to
definitely
be
got
a
to be a
bit
wild
difficult.
card. I mean, they're two
Yeah.
games back of the wild card, so I mean that would be the best shot.
Yeah, definitely a difficult thing to pull off at this point in the season. That being said, I am still going to pick them to win this game. However, this is one of the toughest ones for me to pick here. I really just had like the sneaky feeling like Vegas, who I think to be the inferior team, was going to win this game, but I just couldn't do it. I couldn't bring myself to pick against Cincinnati, probably the same way that you always feel. It's so hard to pick against a team that should be so good on paper yet can't seem to live up to those standards in the game.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they're not even playing that bad. Joe Burrow
Yeah.
had an interception, but they were tied 17 apiece with the Eagles, and then they just kind of stopped scoring. I think
Mm.
one of the tight ends, Mike Gesicki, fumbled, so a couple turnovers, and then the defense has just been horrible, except for that one game against the Giants.
Yeah.
Denver at Baltimore, kind of an interesting matchup here. Denver being a little more potent than they have been the last few years, but I am still going to take the Ravens to bounce back. And I do think that this game could be what I have here. Yeah, high scoring. I think this is a high scoring affair. Denver, their defense is okay. The Ravens' pass defense is Garbo. Their run defense pretty good. Bo Nix with 4 total touchdowns in his last game. I think this could be a little exciting.
Yeah, man, Bo Nix has been looking great, really defying expectations every single week, which is great for him. Definitely got some exciting rookies in the league here. But yeah, that being said, I'm still going to take Baltimore. They're still the better team in my eyes, even though they think they've got the same record now as the Broncos. Um, Tough game, but should be going to Baltimore here.
Chicago at Arizona. After what the Bears did last week, I can't pick them until they win again. So I'm going to rip the Cardinals here. They're at home. Chicago beat the Cardinals pretty badly last year. Maybe the Cardinals want a little revenge. The Bears maybe come out play well after what they
Mhm.
did so egregiously in the last game. I mean, you're
Yeah.
celebrating Tyreek Stevenson celebrating on the field while the play is going on. Then he runs over to the cluster of guys, tips the ball to Noah Brown in the end zone. It's almost as if he was like a plant, like he was a spy for the Commanders and literally executed it perfectly for them to win. So I just can't take the Bears right now. Got to protect myself.
That's fair. Yeah. It feels just like an interesting game here because the Cardinals are favored by 1, but I guess it's because they're at home, but they didn't feel to me like they would be favored. I feel like the
I mean, they're
Bears have
four and
played.
four. They're pretty
I
good.
know. I mean, I know they're leading their division right now, and Bears are trailing in their division, but both teams have 4 wins.
Yeah.
So, uh, but yeah, I'm going to be taking the Bears here. Just feel like they're going to come back from this miserable Hail Mary loss. And just like Caleb's going to be pumped up. He's going to be like, not going to let another loss get in my way. Not going to let something like this happen again. Going to have to come out and play hard. And I don't know. I just think that that could be an inspiring spirit for him to get a win here.
I mean, I hope so. I hope so. And it very well
Yeah.
could be, but I gotta wait and see before I buy into them again. Jacksonville at Philadelphia. Jacksonville, the last time they played the Eagles, it was the year that the Eagles made the Super Bowl, and Jacksonville played pretty well against them at the time. I feel like this one, though, I think the Eagles kind of run away with it. They're looking better and
Hmm.
better as the weeks go on. They're starting to really roll good teams. The Giants, I mean, I know they're not great, but they're competitive. They roll the Bengals in the second half. So I think this one gets away from the Jaguars a little bit.
Yeah, I can agree with that one. Also going to take the Eagles here. Now that the offensive weapons are back from their injuries, feels like they're kind of starting to figure things out and look much stronger out there on the field. Don't think they're quite fraudulent, which I might have kind of said earlier on this season. I think they're actually a decent team here and certainly better than Jacksonville. So I'm going to be taking them this week.
Nice. All right. We have Rams at Seattle. A tough one to pick here, interdivision game. I'm gonna rip the Seattle Seahawks, the home team. And that is the main deciding factor for me. If it was at LA, I would take the
Hmm.
Rams. But because it's up there in Seattle, I'm going to take the Seahawks. Really could go either way. Now that the Rams are healthy, they're a little bit unpredictable. I would like to see them, do what they did against Minnesota one more time before I really start, okay, they're going to win some games here. Let's start picking them. Seattle's looked a lot more consistent. I know they really struggled against the Bills at home, but I think another opportunity to bounce back against a division rival.
Yeah, that's fair. That being said, I am still going to be taking the Rams. I've just felt like, with the weapons coming back, they just looked too good, especially taking down a team like the Vikings. And I'm just expecting that they'll be able to carry that through against the Seahawks here, especially because in the recent weeks, I think Seattle has gone like maybe 1-3 or 0-4. Is that right? I think it's 1-3.
Well, they lost to the Bills, but they did beat the Falcons a couple weeks
Okay.
ago, so they have that win in there.
They've actually lost four of their last five games. They
Yeah, so the
lost to the
Falcons win.
Yeah, so they lost to the Bills, 49ers, Giants, and Lions. So four of the last five
Yeah.
weeks. So I feel like they're kind of on a downward trend from their kind of hot start, which
Yeah.
was 3-0 start.
Right, right, right.
So I just feel like, and with the way the Rams looked last week, just would be better to go with the Rams here.
No, that's very fair. Plus, they had some extra days of rest.
That's true.
Detroit at Green Bay, another one where I have to just take the home team. Although Jordan Love's a little banged up, Malik Willis, every time he's played, he's undefeated. He started those two games, won both of them. He then comes in for Jordan Love this past weekend and
Hmm.
cruises them to a win when it got a little tight there toward the end. So I don't really feel like the quarterback change means a whole lot. I think Malik Willis is actually pretty solid and definitely is a little bit more mobile than Jordan Love. So I'm going to take the Packers here.
Yeah, I think it's not a bad pick because Malik Willis is not bad. But I mean, Detroit is looking unstoppable right now, bro.
They're
They're
going to have to
tossing
come
up.
back down to earth, though. I love the Lions. Like, trust me, out of any team in the NFC, I would like them to win the Super Bowl, except for the Bears. But I feel like they have to come back down to earth at some point here.
I mean, that's certainly reasonable, but dude, the last 4 weeks they've scored 40 or more points in three of them, and more than 30 points in the other one. Their offense is just looking unstoppable.
It's hard to sustain that. That's all I'm saying. It's
I know
tough
it's
to
hard
keep
to
that going.
sustain, but they've already done it 4 straight weeks.
That makes me
It's
want to take the Packers even more. It's like if you do that 5 straight weeks, I mean, we're going to have to start talking about this being a historically great team, like one of the best offensive teams of all time.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like that's going to be the case, but this feels like Detroit could get like a 27-24 win here to me.
Yeah. No, I mean,
So,
I could see it.
yeah.
When David Montgomery is throwing touchdown passes, you got to watch out for anything.
Of
Like, you
course,
got to
bro.
really take him seriously. But
Yeah.
And another team that I haven't been great picking, like I thought that the Vikings would get them when they were at home, but it just feels
Yeah.
like Detroit's been cruising, they've been coasting. Maybe that lack of Aiden Hutchinson finally comes into play here a little bit. And I feel like with a mobile quarterback like Malik Willis, it definitely could.
I mean, it's certainly possible, but yeah, I mean, they're even tossing up the 30 burgers against 30 and 40 against Cowboys and Vikings. And,
I know. It's impressive.
Cowboys, yeah, Cowboys don't have a bad defense, bro. So throwing up
Yeah,
47 against them is certainly
I
something
know.
to be said for that. So I'm going to be taking Detroit this week.
Yeah, and the effortless 52 against the Titans as well. It's impressive. But
Agreed.
moving on here, speaking of Joe Flaccoing, Indianapolis at Minnesota. Joe Flacco named the starting quarterback, Anthony Richardson bench. I knew they should have done this a couple weeks ago, when we were talking about it. And while it makes me almost want to take the Colts here, the Vikings have lost two straight. They're coming off of an extra couple days of rest, as we said with the Rams. I think they need this win here to stay pertinent in the NFC North conversations. I mean, if they lose this one and the Packers beat Detroit, then yeah, they could be in trouble. They could almost be like eliminated from division title talks unless they go on an absolute tear and root for chaos. This is one they really need here, and I think they can get it.
I'm with you there, bro. It's got to be Minnesota. Uh, I mean, they're bound to rebound here from a couple tough losses after starting off 5-0. Then they lose two straight. They're ready to get back on track with their really nice, impressive season, kind of defied expectations and get a win here. I would really be quite surprised if they ended up losing this one. Going from 5-0 to 0-3 or 5-3 is got to be super rare. I honestly would like to look up the stats on how often that's happened before, especially against, some teams like the Colts, which certainly aren't as good. So I'm going to be taking the Vikings
Right.
this week.
And for our Monday night game, the Bucs at the Chiefs, a rematch of the Super Bowl a couple years ago, and I know they've played since then, but yeah, I just feel like without Chris Godwin, I don't think Mike Evans will play either. Maybe, probably, maybe not. I don't know. I
Hmm.
just never know with receivers these days. Puka and Nakua really just
Yeah.
threw me for a loop there when I saw he was playing. I was like,
Hmm.
what?
Yeah.
Going to take the Chiefs here, but the spread does seem a little large. I feel like Tampa Bay +9 is not a bad bet. But yeah, I
Hmm.
mean, the Chiefs have really just had all the stars aligned for them. They've played the right teams at the right times when they're hurt and banged up. Because I really do think
Yeah,
Tampa could be challenging had they
for
had
sure.
Godwin and Evans and maybe a
Yeah.
slightly better offensive line.
Yeah, I can agree with that for sure. I mean, Tampa Bay has looked solid in many games this season, especially their offense. Baker playing like he did back in college, and basically just the player that he was drafted to be.
He has thrown a
But
lot of interceptions, though.
he's turned the ball over, but he's throwing so many touchdown passes.
Yeah, I mean, he's an absolute gunslinger. I think he's thrown like five interceptions, but like six or seven touchdowns the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, yeah, crazy behavior, but yeah, it's hard to pick against the Chiefs, and especially hard when they're at home in prime time. I mean, I gotta go with the Chiefs here. Nothing else to be said about that.
Yeah, no, I agree. So we're pretty much on the same page about a lot of these, except for the
We got seven different actually,
interdivision.
bro.
Wow, seven different. Did not feel like that many different.
Yeah,
Whoa, this will really make or break whether our records kind of, diverge
diverge or
from each other.
converge. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, moving on to our best bets. I'm just going to rifle through these in chronological order, starting with Thursday Night Football. Houston Jets over 42. I think this game goes over, even though Houston's down a couple receivers and the Jets have a decent defense. I don't know. It feels like an over. Buffalo, but not the Bills. It's the college team, University of
Mhm.
Buffalo. I think they win against Akron. So I'm going to take them on the money line, -110. Air Force +22.5 against Army. That's got to be a close game. It's the two service academies. They are going to play each other tight. Arkansas +7 against Ole Miss. Ole Miss has just not looked good. I think Arkansas might just be a straight up better team and win the game. Penn State +3.5. I love this bet at home, whiteout against Ohio State, who's looked shaky. Penn State has won in multiple ways. They've been very dynamic. Even if Drew Aller's a little banged up, I like him to cover 3.5 at home. Illinois +3 at Minnesota. I think they're actually at home against Minnesota. So this was a little bit of a head scratching line to me. So I'm going to take that. Vanderbilt +7 against Auburn. North Carolina -2.5 against, oh man, who are they playing? Oh no, who are they playing? Oh well, just take North Carolina -2.5. It's fine. Texas Tech +14 at Iowa State. I like that one, especially you're gonna give me two touchdowns, and they have a pretty potent offense. Although I think Baron Morton, their quarterback's a little banged
UNC is
up. So
facing FSU,
yes, 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 yes.
Florida
I mean, come
State.
on,
Yeah.
FSU is so bad, and they
Yeah.
may be looking ahead to Notre Dame a little bit. even though, I mean, what's there to even look ahead for them? Their season's
One and
chalked.
six, yeah, 1-7.
Clemson minus 10.5. I don't think that's enough at home against Pitt. Or no, they're not playing Pitt. Oh, all these ACT teams are screwing me up. I think it's Louisville actually that they're playing at home. Yeah. Texas A&M minus 2.5 at South Carolina. It just seems like too low of a number for a team that has been dominating in SEC play. Pittsburgh +8. They're at SMU. I know that for sure. That's just way too much for an undefeated Pittsburgh team. Then on the NFL, Denver +9.5 against the Ravens. That's a huge number for two pretty good teams. Carolina +7 home against the Saints. Talked about that. Giants +3.5 against the Commanders. Patriots +3.5 against the Titans. Two teams I think will win outright. Chicago, Arizona under 44.5. I think, both teams have been involved in a fair amount of lower scoring games. Green Bay +3.5 against the Lions. Seattle +1.5 against the Rams. Tampa Bay +9 against the Chiefs. Indianapolis, Minnesota under 45.5. I think Minnesota's defense holds the Colts under 17 points. I think the Vikings probably only score around 21. Minnesota -6 there as well, though. So I guess I should audit that score there. I think it's probably going to be like a 21-13 type of game. And then Denver, Baltimore over 44.5. We also already talked about that one.
Good stuff, dude. I like the picks, especially
Thank you.
Vanderbilt +7 there. I mean, they have just really
They're a cover
defied
monster, dude.
expectations. I know, dude. Even against a team like UT, I mean, they're coming through and covering like a 16-point
Yeah,
spread.
easily covering.
Yeah, easily.
It is Louisville, by the way, that Clemson's playing.
Yes. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
All right, on to my best bets here. We actually had a couple of the same, or very similar at least, but I had Denver +9.5 here, and Carolina. I said Carolina money line here, straight up instead of just covering the spread. But they're +250. I think there's a lot of value to be had there in a team against New Orleans that's looked really, really rocky, and Carolina at home due for a rebound week here. Then we've got Buffalo -6 against Miami. I think back to the time when Buffalo beat Miami like 45 to like 20 or something crazy. I think that was maybe a year or two ago, but it seems like Buffalo just kind of has Miami's number, especially when you
Yeah.
start getting into these colder months here. And Buffalo's at home. It's written in the cards for Buffalo to cover this small spread. Then we've got Detroit and Green Bay over 48.5. With the way that Detroit has been playing, I've got to ride with them hitting an over here. And Green Bay's got a solid offense too, so could certainly see this one getting up into the 50s for a team total or for a game total.
Yeah, I like your bets as well. I would probably lean like under for that game, though. I'm a little concerned
Hmm.
about it. Maybe I would
Yeah,
go like under 50.5, bite it up a little bit,
yeah.
see where it ends up on Sunday. I just
Well, that
think that this
aligns
one could
with
be a little tighter.
yeah, it aligns with the fact that you think, the Lions offense is bound to regress back down
Yeah,
and not keep putting up, 40
right.
points every week. So that's fair.
All right, guys, that's all we have. Wait, never mind. We had our picks sent in early. Everyone got them in. Everyone turned their homework in on time this week.
Yeah, we'll see what grade we get to give them on this in a week from now, but we'll be sure to track them carefully. Jimmy, his record here is one game better than us on the season. His new picks sent in here are Texans, Saints, Commanders, Bills, Browns, Titans, Falcons, Bengals, Ravens, Bears, Eagles, Rams, Lions, Vikings, and Chiefs. Sadly, he says sadly for the Chiefs. What do you
As a
make of
Bucks
that?
fan, I'm sure he's sad, but it was very
Yeah,
impressive that he predicted the Browns to win last week with Jameis
it's
Winston,
true.
a previous Buck, so I could see the connections.
Yeah, for sure. And then for my dad here, Texans, Falcons, Ravens, Bills, Panthers. There we go.
Look at you
Uh,
guys.
Bengals, Chargers, Commanders, Patriots, Bears, Eagles, Lions, Rams, Vikings, Chiefs. So it seems like we're all in accord on the Chiefs beating
Yeah,
the Bucks this week. Um,
we're all in the court on a lot of these games.
yeah, yeah, I guess that's true. Except for our seven different, which didn't seem like we had
Yeah,
seven
well, no
different,
one's
but
taking the Jets with me.
yeah. Well, I mean, I guess people probably haven't looked at that line yet. Like
Dude, that's a
That's such a
scary
sneaky
line. It's
line.
very
It
frightening,
is. It really
especially for
is. Yeah.
Halloween. Wait, isn't that game on Halloween?
It is, bro.
Oh my God,
It's the
dude,
spooktacular.
it's a lock.
It's the
Jets,
spooktacular,
it's a
bro.
lock, man. It's yes, exactly. Dude, there you guys go. The Jets don't win. I'm not gonna pick them like uh,
Ever?
ever again.
I feel like I see
Maybe
you
not.
picking the Jets like every week on the slate.
Yeah, because I thought they would be so good. They got Scrivante, bro.
I know, I know. Remember when I said in the preseason they'd be 15-2, like the number one team in the league?
Yeah, hopefully no one clips that and dude, that's like the reason we won't become
Yeah.
president because we predicted the Jets to go 15-2.
That was all me, bro. You might still
I
become
had them at
president.
like 13 or 14 wins though, still.
It's like they're just like the Bengals, bro. They should be so much better than
I
they
know.
actually are.
And they are losing like close games, except for the Steelers one, but they were ahead in that game early. So,
I know. But to
oh
drop a
well.
game to New England, man, that's tough. That's a tough loss.
I know. All right. Well, we'll see how this week goes. I'm excited about it. I'm a little more excited about the college games, though. You got some big ones with Georgia, Florida. Notre Dame's off this week, but there are some other nice ones like, oh man, Oregon, Michigan, even though Michigan's down. But yeah, some good slates all around. And we will see you guys next week for another ep of the pod.